continent of grand history and cultural depth. From the Enlightenment to the Industrial Revolution, this land has shaped the world in profound ways. But now, Europe is at a crossroads. Today, the very principles that made it a beacon of hope and freedom are being tested like never before. A dual crisis is unfolding, one of migration and the other of political upheaval. How will this collision shape Europe's future? Will it remain united or fall apart under the weight of its challenges? It all begins with migration, a story as old as civilization itself. People have always sought safer shores, fleeing war, famine, or oppression in the hopes of building a better life. But Europe's migration crisis is different. Since 2015, more than 5 million migrants and refugees have arrived on European soil. Driven by conflict in Syria, Afghanistan, and parts of Africa, they cross the Mediterranean in fragile boats, risking their lives for the promise of stability. For many of these people, their journey doesn't end when they reach Europe. It's just the beginning of a long and painful struggle. Asylum seekers find themselves trapped in limbo, often stuck in overcrowded camps, waiting for their cases to be processed. The dream of freedom is met with the harsh reality of bureaucracy, border controls, and, in some cases, hostility from local populations. But how did it come to this? Why is Europe struggling to cope with this wave of humanity? The answer lies in a complex web of policies and political agendas. For decades, Europe stood as a shining example of liberal democracy, a land of open borders and shared values. The creation of the European Union and the Schengen Agreement allowed for the free movement of people, goods, and ideas across the continent. But the migration crisis has shaken this very foundation. In countries like Italy and Greece, the gateway to Europe, the situation has become untenable. These nations bear the brunt of the influx, often with little help from their European neighbors. Italy's shores, once seen as the first step toward a better life, are now a battleground for humanitarian aid workers and far-right politicians alike. And this leads us to the second, equally explosive crisis, the rise of political extremism. As migration continues, so too does the rise of far-right populist movements across Europe. In Hungary, Prime Minister Viktor Orbán has built fences along the borders, vowing to protect Europe's Christian identity. In Italy, political figures like Matteo Salvini have gained power by promising to defend Italian borders and put Italians first. These sentiments are echoed across the continent. France, the Netherlands, Germany, all have seen a rise in far-right rhetoric, driven by fears of cultural displacement and economic instability. For many Europeans, the influx of migrants has reignited a debate about national identity. Who are we? How much change can we handle before we lose ourselves? These are questions that haunt Europe today. The stakes could not be higher. Europe is facing a profound identity crisis. On one side, there are those who believe that Europe must remain open, a place of refuge for those fleeing war and persecution. On the other side, there are those who argue that the continent's values, culture, and security are at risk. This tension is at the heart of the political shifts sweeping across Europe. Take Germany, for example. Once hailed as the leader of Europe, Germany welcomed over 1 million refugees under the leadership of Chancellor Angela Merkel. It was a decision that polarized the nation. While many praised Merkel's compassion, others saw it as a reckless move that would destabilize the country. And now, as Germany prepares for its next chapter in leadership, the political landscape has shifted. Far-right parties like the AfD, Alternative for Deutschland, are gaining ground, tapping into fears about migration and identity. And what about the European Union itself? The very principles of the EU, freedom of movement, shared responsibility, solidarity, are under threat. The migration crisis has revealed deep divisions between member states. Countries like Hungary and Poland have flat out refused to take in migrants, despite EU agreements to distribute asylum seekers more fairly. This has led to a growing rift between Eastern and Western Europe, and raised questions about the future of the EU as a unified political entity. Will the European Union survive these pressures? Will it adapt, or will it fracture under the strain? And what about the migrants themselves? Will they find the acceptance and safety they seek, or will they remain outsiders, caught in a never-ending cycle of displacement? But it's not all doom and gloom. Amidst the tension, there are stories of hope and resilience. Many migrants are successfully integrating into European society, contributing to the economy, enriching local cultures, and building new lives. For these individuals, Europe remains a beacon of hope. So, where does this leave Europe? At a crossroads, a place where decisions made today will echo throughout history: migration, politics, humanity. The future is uncertain, but its story continues to unfold. Subscribe now and join us as we explore the challenges and opportunities shaping our world. And don't forget to hit that like button. Stay safe, stay informed, and I'll see you in the next one.